Ambassador High Park walked into the biggest meeting room she had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that sparkled like diamonds, and the ceiling was so high she could barely see the top. Around her, alien beings from across the galaxy sat in floating chairs that hummed softly. At the center of the room stood the most important aliens in the galaxy, the Galactic Council. They looked like living glass sculptures, their bodies clear and shining with inner light. When they spoke, their voices came from everywhere at once, like music from invisible speakers. "Human Ambassador," said the lead counselor, its voice echoing through the room. "We have called you here today because of a problem." Hai straightened her blue diplomatic uniform and tried to look calm. Behind her stood Captain Jean Lee from Earth's Space Navy and Dr. Sun Kim, who knew more about alien cultures than anyone else on Earth. They had traveled 3 months through space to get to this meeting, and Hai could tell it was going to be important. "What kind of problem?" she asked politely. The crystal being's light grew brighter. "The Zephyrian Empire has made a complaint about your species." On the far side of the room, a group of tall, powerful aliens sat in silence. These were the Zephyrians, and they looked like they had been built for war. Each one had 4 arms, gray skin covered in old battle scars, and eyes that glowed like red coals. Their leader was bigger than the rest, wearing armor that seemed to be made from black metal and starlight. "I am High War Priest Kethvar," the leader said, standing up slowly. His voice was deep and serious, like thunder rolling across mountains. "I speak for the Zephyrian Empire and our sacred traditions." Hai had studied the Zephyrians before coming here. They were an old race, much older than humans. For thousands of years they had followed strict rules about honor, war, and religion. They believed that their war priest was not just a leader, but actually a god living in mortal form. "High War Priest," Hai said with a respectful bow. "How can humanity help?" Kethvar's 4 arms crossed over his chest. "Your people have been careless with sacred things. In the outer colonies, humans have seen our religious ceremonies and our warrior traditions. But they do not treat them with proper respect." The lead counselor's light pulsed gently. "The Zephyrians say that humans watch their sacred rituals like they are entertainment. They copy their war dances without understanding the spiritual meaning. This is considered very rude in their culture." Dr. Sun Kim stepped forward. He was a small, quiet man who had spent 20 years studying how different species got along together. "War Priest Kethvar, we had no idea we were being disrespectful. Humans are naturally curious about other cultures. When we see something interesting we want to learn about it and try it ourselves." "That is exactly the problem," Kethvar replied, his red eyes glowing brighter. "Your people treat our most holy traditions like toys to play with." Hai could feel the tension in the room growing. The other alien species were watching carefully, waiting to see what would happen. Some conflicts between species had started over much smaller misunderstandings than this. "What would you like us to do?" she asked. The Crystal Counselor spoke again. "The Zephyrian Empire requests that all human colonies and your home world Earth show proper respect for their traditions. You must learn to appreciate their culture in the correct way." Captain Jean Lee, who had been quiet until now, whispered to Hai, "We can make this work. Humans love learning about warrior cultures. Look at how popular samurai movies and Viking stories are back home." Hai nodded. This seemed like an easy problem to solve. Humans were good at adapting and learning from other species. In fact, most humans would probably be excited to learn about real alien warrior traditions. "High War Priest Kethvar," she said formally, "humanity accepts your request. We will make sure that all human worlds treat Zephyrian culture with the respect and honor it deserves." The war priest studied her face carefully. His people had been warriors for so long that they could usually tell when someone was lying or trying to trick them. But Hai's face showed only honest agreement and enthusiasm. "You promise this?" he asked. "I promise," Hai replied firmly. "Humanity will embrace Zephyrian culture and show it the proper respect." Dr. Sun Kim was already making notes on his tablet. "We'll need detailed information about your ceremonies and traditions. We want to make sure we do everything correctly." "Good," Kethvar said with a satisfied nod. "We will send you complete records of our religious practices, our combat forms and our honor codes. Study them well. Learn them properly. Treat them as the sacred things they are." The Crystal Counselor's light grew warm and pleasant. "Excellent. This shows that different species can work together to solve their problems peacefully." As the meeting ended, Hai felt proud of how well things had gone. This was exactly the kind of diplomatic success that Earth needed. The galaxy was full of older, more powerful species, and humans had to prove they could be good neighbors. Captain Jean Lee was smiling too. "Wait until people back home hear about this. Real alien warrior culture? The History channels are going to go crazy. Dr. Sun Kim was still typing on his tablet. I'll start setting up cultural exchange programs right away. This could be the beginning of something wonderful. What none of them realized was that when humans said they would embrace something, they meant it very differently than the Zephyrians expected. And when humans got excited about warrior culture, they tended to get very creative about how they showed their appreciation. High War Priest Kethvar returned to his ship feeling satisfied. Soon, these humans would learn to treat Zephyrian traditions with proper, solemn reverence. He had no idea that he had just set in motion the most chaotic cultural exchange in galactic history. 3 months after the big meeting with the Galactic Council, Dr. Sun Kim sat in his office on Earth looking at reports from human colonies across the galaxy. His desk was covered with tablets, papers, and what looked like a coffee mug with strange alien symbols painted on it. "This is incredible," he said to his assistant, a young woman named Bo Ri who had just graduated from the Galactic Studies program. "Humans everywhere are learning about Zephyrian culture faster than I expected." Bo Ri picked up one of the tablets and started reading. "The colonists on New Tokyo have formed something called the Warrior Dawn Club. They meet every morning to practice Zephyrian combat moves and chant the sacred war songs." "That sounds respectful," Dr. Sun Kim nodded approvingly. "Well," Bo Ri continued, "they do it in the park at 6 in the morning, and apparently they've attracted over 3,000 members. The local news calls it the biggest fitness craze in the colony's history." Meanwhile, across the city in a trendy neighborhood, fitness instructor Nayu was leading her third, Zephyrian warrior training class of the day. The gym was packed with people wearing exercise clothes decorated with alien symbols and trying to copy the four-armed combat stances using their 2 human arms. "Remember," Nayu called out as she demonstrated a spinning kick, "the Zephyrians believe that every movement connects your body to the spirit of battle. Feel that warrior energy flowing through you." The class cheered and tried to copy her moves. Behind them, upbeat music played, a remixed version of the ancient Zephyrian war chant that some creative musician had turned into the galaxy's hottest workout song. The original sacred words about honor and glory had been mixed with electronic beats and was now #1 on the music charts. In another part of Earth, artist Tae Min was putting the finishing touches on his latest creation. He had spent weeks studying the religious armor worn by Zephyrian war priests and had created his own version using human materials and artistic vision. "It's not just copying," he explained to the reporter interviewing him for Art Galaxy magazine. "I'm interpreting their sacred designs through human creativity. This armor represents the meeting of 2 warrior cultures, theirs and ours." The armor was beautiful, combining the powerful look of Zephyrian battle gear with flowing human artistic styles. The reporter was so impressed that she commissioned her own piece. Within days, Zephyrian-inspired fashion was trending on every human world. Coffee shops started selling drinks with names like Warpriest Strength and Battle Fury Blend. The sacred symbol of Kethvar appeared on t-shirts, phone cases, and even children's lunch boxes. Human artists were creating paintings, sculptures, and digital art based on Zephyrian mythology. On the entertainment networks, shows about alien warrior culture became incredibly popular. Historians like Professor Min Seo gave lectures about Zephyrian battle techniques to packed auditoriums. Combat sports added new categories based on four-armed fighting styles, even though humans only had 2 arms. The most popular trend was something humans called Zeph Play, elaborate costume competitions where people dressed up as different types of Zephyrian warriors. These events happened every weekend in major cities, with prizes for the most authentic-looking armor and the best performance of traditional war dances. Captain Jean Lee, who had attended the original diplomatic meeting, was amazed by how quickly everything spread. "It's like the whole human species decided to become Zephyrian culture experts overnight," he told Ambassador Hyde Park during their weekly video call. "Is that bad?" I asked. She was still traveling between different alien worlds, working on other diplomatic projects. "I don't think so," Jean replied. "Everyone seems to be having fun with it. And they're really learning about Zephyrian history and traditions. My nephew can recite 3 different warrior poems from memory now." What they didn't know was that High War Priest Kethvar was watching all of this happen through the Galactic Communication Network. His ship had special monitoring equipment that let him observe human activities across their colonies. At first he had been pleased. The humans were indeed learning about his people's culture. But as days passed, his satisfaction turned to confusion, then to growing alarm. He watched videos of humans performing the sacred ritual of eternal combat while eating something called pizza. He saw them live streaming religious ceremonies with thousands of viewers making jokes in the comment sections. Sacred war chants were being used as background music for exercise videos. "Commander," Kethvar said to his second-in-command, a smaller Zephyrian named Vextar. "Show me the report from the human colony at Beta Centauri." The screen showed a group of human children, none older than 10 years, performing a traditional Zephyrian blessing ceremony. They were wearing homemade costumes and giggling as they tried to remember the ancient words. Their parents filmed everything and uploaded it to something called Cute Kids Galaxy, with the title, "My Little Warriors." Kethvar's 4 hands slowly clenched into fists. "They are making entertainment from our most sacred rituals." "Sir," Vextar said carefully, "the humans do seem to be learning about our culture. Their interest appears to be genuine." "Genuine?" Kethvar's voice rose. "They treat our holy ceremonies like games. They sell coffee with my sacred symbol on the cup. They perform our religious rites while eating snack food." He pulled up another video that showed a human wedding where the couple had included Zephyrian honor vows in their ceremony. The bride and groom spoke the ancient words about eternal loyalty and warrior bonds, then kissed while their guests threw flower petals and cheered. "This is mockery," Kethvar growled. "They promised respect. Instead, they turn our traditions into their entertainment." Vextar watched as the war priest paced around the command center, his armor clanking with each heavy step. "What are your orders, sir?" Kethvar stopped pacing and turned to face the communication console. His red eyes blazed with divine anger. "Contact the Galactic Council. Tell them I invoke the ancient rite of Challenge of Honor." "Challenge of Honor, sir?" "Yes. These humans claim to love warrior culture so much. Let them prove it by facing a real warrior in actual combat. Bring me their greatest fighters. Only through honorable battle can this insult to my people be answered." As the message was sent across the galaxy, Kethvar had no idea that his challenge would soon lead him to the most confusing and life-changing experience of his thousands of years of existence. The emergency alarm in the Galactic Council chambers hadn't rung in over 50 years. When it did, every species in the galaxy knew something serious was happening. Ambassador High Park rushed back from her diplomatic mission on the far side of the galaxy, arriving just as High War Priest Kethvar was making his formal declaration. "I invoke the ancient challenge of honor," Kethvar announced, his voice echoing through the crystal chamber. His 4 arms were spread wide, and divine energy crackled around his massive form. "The humans have mocked my people's sacred traditions for the last time." The crystal counselors pulsed with worried light. "War Priest, surely we can resolve this through peaceful discussion." "No," Kethvar replied firmly. "They promised respect, but instead they turn our most holy ceremonies into entertainment. They sell our sacred symbols on drinking cups. They perform our religious rites while eating food and laughing with their friends." High stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in despite the panic in her chest. "High War Priest, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Humans show respect differently than other species. When we embrace something we love, we make it part of our daily lives." "Daily lives?" Kethvar's red eyes blazed brighter. "I have seen videos of your people performing the ritual of eternal combat while someone in the background shouts about music beats. I have watched children play games with our warrior ceremonies. This is not respect, this is mockery." Dr. Sun Kim, who had been called back to the council chambers, tried to explain. "In human culture, when we incorporate something into our entertainment and art, it means we find it valuable and meaningful. We're not trying to insult anyone." "Then your species will prove this in the traditional way," Kethvar declared. "I challenge your greatest warriors to ritual combat. If they fight with honor and show true understanding of warrior ways, I will accept that your intentions were pure. If they cannot, then humanity will stop this mockery forever." The chamber fell silent. Every alien species knew about Zephyrian Challenge of Honor. It was an ancient rite that couldn't be refused once formally declared. Throughout galactic history, entire civilizations had been destroyed by Zephyrian war priests defending their culture. Captain Jean Lee whispered urgently to High, "We have to accept. If we refuse, it could mean war with the entire Zephyrian Empire." "But who would we send?" I whispered back. "Our best soldiers are trained for modern warfare, not ancient ritual combat." Before anyone could answer, Kethvar spoke again. "I will travel to your home world, Earth. Gather your mightiest fighters there. In 7 days, I will arrive to face them in honorable battle." The lead counselor's crystalline form shifted nervously. "And if the humans lose this challenge? Then they will remove all Zephyrian symbols from their worlds, stop performing our ceremonies and never speak of our culture again," Kethvar replied. "Our traditions will be forbidden to them forever." High felt her heart sink. Humans had already fallen in love with Zephyrian culture. Telling them to stop now would be like asking them to stop breathing. "We accept the challenge," she said formally because she had no choice. As the council session ended, Hai immediately contacted Earth's government. The message traveled through space faster than any ship, reaching the Global Defense Council within hours. What kind of challenge?" asked General Park, the head of Earth's military forces. "A ritual combat challenge from an alien war priest," Hai explained over the video call. "We need our best fighters ready in 7 days." "I'll start selecting our top soldiers immediately," the general replied. "Where should they meet this alien warrior?" "I'll send you the coordinates," Hai said, then added the meeting location to her message. What nobody realized was that the coordinates Hai sent were slightly wrong. In her panic, she had accidentally included the address of the San Diego Convention Center instead of the nearby military base. The message reached Earth and was automatically processed by the government's communication system. But instead of going to the military, it was forwarded to the convention center's booking department. Event coordinator Lisa Chen was having a normal Tuesday morning when she received what she thought was the most exciting booking request in her career. "An alien war priest wants to be a special guest at Comic-Con?" she said to her assistant, reading the message again. "This has to be some kind of amazing publicity stunt. Look, it says he'll arrive in 7 days and wants to face our greatest warriors in combat." Her assistant, Mike, looked over her shoulder. "That sounds like he wants to do some kind of demonstration or exhibition match. Maybe like those medieval combat shows they have at Renaissance fairs." "This is perfect," Lisa said, already imagining the crowds. "Comic-Con is in 2 weeks. An authentic alien war priest doing combat demonstrations? We'll sell out every ticket." She quickly typed back a response. "Dear War Priest Kethvar, we are honored to have you as our special guest at San Diego Comic-Con. We have scheduled you for a booth in Artists Alley and a panel discussion on authentic alien warrior culture. We look forward to seeing your combat demonstrations." Meanwhile, in space, Kethvar received the reply on his warship. He read it with confusion. "What is this, Comic-Con?" he asked his second-in-command. Vextar consulted the ship's database. "According to our files, it appears to be a large gathering where human warriors display their battle gear and share stories of combat." "Excellent," Kethvar nodded approvingly. "A warrior festival. This is appropriate. The humans will gather their greatest fighters in one place, and I will face them all." By the time anyone realized the mistake, it was too late. Kethvar's ship was already traveling toward Earth at maximum speed. The booking was confirmed, the tickets were being sold, and over 130,000 people were planning to attend what they thought would be the most epic Comic-Con in history. Ambassador High Park was still trying to coordinate with Earth's military when she received a message that made her blood run cold. "War Priest registered for Comic-Con. Booth assignment confirmed. Panel scheduled for Saturday afternoon." "Oh no," she whispered, realizing what had happened. "He's not going to a military base. He's going to a convention center filled with people in costumes." The greatest misunderstanding in galactic diplomatic history was about to reach its climax, and there was no way to stop it. High War Priest Kethvar stepped off his transport ship at the San Diego spaceport, expecting to meet Earth's military leaders. Instead, he was greeted by a cheerful young woman wearing a bright yellow shirt with Comic-Con staff printed on it. "War Priest Kethvar," she said with a big smile. "I'm so young from the convention center. Welcome to Earth. Are you excited for your first Comic-Con?" Kethvar stared down at her. He was over 7 feet tall, covered in ancient battle armor that hummed with divine energy, and his 4 arms carried weapons that could level buildings. This small human was treating him like he was just another guest. "I am here to face your greatest warriors in combat," he announced, his voice echoing with the power of a god. "Oh yes." So Young nodded enthusiastically. "Your combat demonstration is scheduled for Saturday afternoon. The crowd is going to love it. Come on, let me show you to the convention center." Kethvar followed her, confused but curious. As they walked through the city, humans stopped to stare at him, but not with fear. Instead, they pulled out small devices and took pictures, some asking if they could take photos with him. "Is this normal?" he asked So Young. "Oh sure," she replied casually. "People love meeting special guests. Wait until you see inside the convention center. There are so many people dressed up like characters from your culture." When the doors to the San Diego Convention Center opened, Kethvar stopped walking entirely. Before him stretched the largest gathering of warriors he had ever seen. Thousands of humans filled the massive space, all wearing elaborate battle armor, carrying weapons, and displaying the symbols of hundreds of different warrior cultures. But something was wrong. These warriors were laughing. They were taking pictures with each other. Children ran between their legs wearing tiny versions of adult armor. People were eating snacks and buying toys. "What is this place?" Kethvar asked, his voice quiet with shock. "This is Comic-Con," So Young said proudly. "The biggest celebration of heroes, warriors, and storytelling in the galaxy." Before Kethvar could respond, a young man in carefully crafted armor approached them. The armor was painted to look like Zephyrian crystal steel, and the human had somehow managed to create fake extra arms that moved with his real ones. "Excuse me," the young man said politely. "Are you really a Zephyrian war priest? I'm Jeho, and I've been studying your culture for months. Your people's honor codes are amazing." Kethvar looked down at the human's costume. It was surprisingly accurate, showing real understanding of Zephyrian armor design. "You know of our honor codes?" "Oh yes." Jeho's face lit up. "The way your warriors swear loyalty to their brothers, the ceremonies for fallen soldiers, the spiritual meaning behind each piece of armor. I tried to make my costume show proper respect for those traditions." Behind Jeho, a small crowd was gathering. More humans in Zephyrian-inspired costumes approached, along with others dressed as warriors from dozens of different cultures, ancient human knights, space marines from movies, fantasy heroes, and aliens from across the galaxy. "War priest," said an older woman wearing military medals on her own costume. "I'm Min-Hee. I served in Earth's army for 20 years. When I read about your warrior culture, it reminded me of what we learned in the military: honor, duty, protecting those who can't protect themselves." Kethvar studied her face. This was a real warrior, someone who had seen actual combat. "You understand the warrior's path?" "Yes, sir," Min-Hee replied respectfully. "Different species, same values. That's why so many veterans love coming to events like this. We get to celebrate the warrior spirit in all its forms." A teenager pushed through the crowd, holding what looked like a handmade book. "War priest Kethvar, I'm Sujin. I wrote a research paper about Zephyrian combat philosophy for school. Could you tell me if I understood the meditation of the blade correctly?" She opened her book and began reading words in the ancient Zephyrian language. Her pronunciation wasn't perfect, but she clearly understood the meaning behind the sacred verses about finding peace through strength and protecting the innocent through righteous combat. Kethvar felt something shift inside his ancient heart. These humans weren't mocking his culture. They were studying it, learning from it, and finding ways to connect it to their own understanding of honor and heroism. "Your paper is acceptable," he said quietly, which from a Zephyrian war priest was high praise. As the morning continued, more humans approached him. Artists showed him paintings and sculptures inspired by Zephyrian mythology. Historians asked detailed questions about ancient battles and the spiritual meaning behind warrior rituals. Parents brought children who had learned Zephyrian war chants in school and wanted to recite them for a real war priest. One interaction stood out above the rest. A group of young humans dressed as different versions of Kethvar himself approached nervously. They had studied images of him from the diplomatic meetings and created their own interpretations of his armor and appearance. "We hope this isn't offensive," said their leader, a college student named Dong Wu. "We wanted to honor you by showing how inspiring your culture is to us." Kethvar walked slowly around the group, examining their costumes and props. Each one showed different aspects of Zephyrian warrior tradition: the ceremonial armor of a priest, the battle gear of a frontline fighter, the robes of a meditation master. "You understand that these represent different ranks in our society?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Dongwu replied. "We researched the hierarchy and the meaning behind each uniform. We wanted to show the diversity and depth of Zephyrian warrior culture." For the first time in centuries, High War Priest Kethvar smiled. These humans had taken his people's traditions and made them part of something larger, a celebration of heroism itself. They weren't treating Zephyrian culture as entertainment. They were treating it as inspiration. "Show me more of this Comic-Con," he told So Young, his voice no longer carrying divine anger but divine curiosity. As they walked deeper into the convention, Kethvar began to understand something that would change everything. Humans didn't separate the sacred from the joyful. When they loved something, they celebrated it with their whole hearts. By the third day of Comic-Con, High War Priest Kethvar had completely changed. The ancient god of war now wore a bright blue t-shirt over his ceremonial armor that read, "Honorary Human," in both English and Zephyrian symbols. A small human child had given it to him, and he treasured it more than any battle trophy. "War Priest," called out event coordinator So Young, "your panel starts in 10 minutes. Are you ready?" Kethvar nodded, but he felt nervous for the first time in centuries. Not the nervousness of facing enemy armies, but the nervousness of wanting to do something well for people he had grown to care about. The main auditorium was packed with over 5,000 humans, all waiting to hear him speak. As he walked onto the stage, the crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Many people were wearing Zephyrian-inspired costumes, and some held signs with messages like, "Thank you for sharing your culture," and "Honor and glory to Kethvar." "Greetings, warriors of Earth," Kethvar began, his voice carrying easily through the large room. "When I first came here, I thought you were mocking my people's traditions. I was wrong." The crowd grew quiet, listening carefully to every word. "I have learned something important these past 3 days," he continued. "You humans do not show respect by keeping sacred things locked away in temples. You show respect by bringing them into your hearts and your daily lives." A young woman in the front row raised her hand. "War Priest, what surprised you most about our convention?" Kethvar thought for a moment. "Yesterday, I met a human child who was dressed as a Zephyrian warrior priest. She could not have been more than 8 years old, but she knew our ancient blessing words better than some of my own soldiers. When I asked her why she learned them, she said, 'Because brave words help me feel brave too.' That is when I understood." An older man stood up. "Sir, I'm a military veteran. Your honor codes have helped me and my fellow soldiers deal with things we saw in combat. How can we thank your people for sharing that wisdom?" "By doing exactly what you are doing now," Kethvar replied. "By taking the best parts of our culture and using them to make your own lives better. By teaching them to your children. By making them part of your stories and your art. This is the greatest honor you could give us." The questions continued for 2 hours, but Kethvar never grew tired of answering them. These humans asked thoughtful questions about warrior philosophy, combat meditation, and how to build strong communities. They wanted to understand not just what Zephyrians did but why they did it. After the panel, Kethvar was scheduled to judge the costume contest. As he watched hundreds of humans parade across the stage in amazing outfits, he realized something wonderful. They weren't trying to become Zephyrians. They were taking Zephyrian ideas and mixing them with their own creativity to become something new. One contestant, a teenage girl named Yi-Jin, had created armor that combined Zephyrian warrior tradition with Korean historical designs. "I wanted to show how different warrior cultures can learn from each other," she explained. "You have succeeded perfectly," Kethvar told her, awarding her first place. The afternoon brought more surprises. A group of human artists showed him their plans for a graphic novel series based on Zephyrian mythology. Comic book writers asked if they could create stories featuring Zephyrian characters. A toy company wanted to make action figures of famous Zephyrian heroes to help human children learn about their culture. "All of this is acceptable to you?" asked Jin Ho, a comic book artist who had spent months researching Zephyrian legends. "Acceptable?" Kethvar laughed, a sound like friendly thunder. "It is wonderful. You are taking our stories and making sure they will live forever in human culture. What greater honor could we ask for?" That evening, as the convention was winding down, alarms began ringing outside the building. Through the windows, everyone could see official Galactic Council ships landing in the parking lot. So Young looked worried. "What's happening?" "The Council has come to stop what they think is a war," Kethvar explained calmly. "They do not yet know that the war is over and we won it together." Ambassador High Park burst through the main doors, followed by a group of Crystal Council members and several nervous-looking alien diplomats. They all looked like they expected to find a battlefield. Instead, they found Kethvar signing autographs for a group of children while wearing his honorary human t-shirt. "War Priest," High said breathlessly, "we came as soon as we could. Are you all right?" "I am better than I have been in centuries," Kethvar replied, gently helping a small boy spell his name on a convention program. "Ambassador Park, council members, let me introduce you to the finest warriors I have ever met." He gestured to the crowd of humans around them. "These people have shown my culture the greatest respect possible. They have not treated it as something distant and untouchable. They have embraced it, shared it, and made it part of their own celebration of heroism and joy." The lead council member's crystalline form pulsed with confusion. "But we expected to mediate a conflict. The only conflict here is deciding whether Zephyrian war chants or human rock music sounds better when played together," Kethvar said with a grin. "And the answer is, they sound amazing." A human musician had indeed created a fusion of Zephyrian ceremonial music and earth rock, and it was playing over the convention center's sound system. "I hereby declare," Kethvar announced formally, "that this Comic-Con shall become an official Zephyrian cultural exchange site. Every year, my people will send artists, historians, and storytellers to learn from humans about celebration and community. The crowd cheered so loudly that the Crystal Council members actually changed color in surprise. Later, as the convention officially ended, Kethvar stood at his signing table surrounded by thousands of pieces of fan art, letters from children, and photos with new human friends. He had learned that humans' greatest diplomatic weapon was not technology or military might, but their incredible ability to find joy and meaning in everything they encountered. Ambassador Hyde Park approached him one last time. So no interstellar war? Kethvar picked up a drawing made by a 6-year-old human showing him and her favorite superhero fighting alongside each other. War? These humans have conquered my heart without firing a single shot. Next year, I am bringing my entire cultural council to see this magic for themselves. As his ship prepared to leave Earth, Kethvar looked back at the convention center and smiled. He had come to Earth as an angry god of war. He was leaving as an honorary human, and he had never been happier.